Gregory Treverton is professor of the practice of international relations and spatial sciences at the University of Southern California. And he joins us on Asia First this morning. Professor, thank you so much for being with us. I mean, the question of whether Donald Trump is going to order a strike, I guess, is only known to Donald Trump. So let me rephrase this question I have for you. We know U.S. forces are deploying. So are these forces, these important backup logistics and supply chains in place that will allow him to order a strike and also, I guess, order the sustained necessary follow-up actions if U.S. interests come under attack as well?
Certainly, we beefed up the military. He's beefed up the military equipment right in the region and reinforced some of the military there. But we're so exposed that there are American troops in a number of places in the Gulf, and so the options for Iran or others to retaliate would be considerable, I think, in any case. My guess is if he goes, Mr. Trump hopes that a single strike on Fordo can make major damage. But my guess is he's still trying to put a lot of pressure and threats on Iran in hopes that he can actually do a deal. He fancies himself a great deal maker, hasn't done so well as president, but this is a chance for him to do something. Obviously, Iran is in a very weak position, but they need to save some face. They can't agree to unconditional surrender, whatever that would mean, since, as far as I can tell, the United States and Iran are not at war. But there is some hope that there will be a deal, I think, and that what's going on is a kind of campaign by Trump to threaten harsh consequences in the hopes that they will actually come to the negotiating table and do something that he would like.
Professor, let me pick up on your point about that GBU 57, a single strike or perhaps a series of strikes on Fordo. That's the facility that keeps coming up. My question would be whether it can be limited to a strike on a particular facility, or does it necessarily mean that this U.S. involvement will broaden? Can Trump order a strike and say, that's it, I'm not going to do anything else?
He could do that, and my guess is that's what he might do, because he's planning on continuing in any case. The question there is, even with these 3,000-pound bunker busters, how much damage you could do in a single or a couple strikes. Obviously, it wouldn't be a single strike; it would be several sorties at least. But how much damage you could really do? We know one thing, that we can't undo the knowledge that Iran has. So no matter how much damage we do to their equipment, they can obviously rebuild over time. And the challenge is whether doing something dramatic now only increases their sense that they've got to have nuclear weapons.
Professor, President Trump has notably shifted from saying there's a deal to be made with Iran to he's not in the mood to negotiate, demanding its unconditional surrender. I mean, what's your read into his rapid change in posture? What does Mr. Trump he ultimately wants at the end of the day?
I think in the end he would like actually to do a deal, not to have to, because he said, I don't want to send troops, I don't want to get involved in foreign wars, I want to end them. So I think in the end, if he could, he'd like to have a deal. And I think this back and forth could be seen, with Mr. Trump, one never knows, but could be seen as a set of tactics trying to put pressure on Iran to actually come to the negotiating table and reach what the United States might consider a sensible outcome.
Professor, there's been a shift in Israel's strategic position, if you like. It was previously, I guess, satisfied with containment, making sure that, Hamas, Iran, Hezbollah are contained. It seems to have shifted to one where it will strike preemptively now and try to avoid any kind of surprise similar to October 7th. Do you think this is a permanent shift in terms of Israel's strategic thinking?
I think it is a shift. After all, with all the damage that Israel did to Iran before and Iranian proxies, Iran was in a pretty tight box, and therefore you could have imagined the Israelis simply living with that circumstance where their relative power in the region had gone up dramatically, and they weren't really threatened by much of anyone, certainly not Hezbollah, not Hamas, some by the Houthis, but not by Iran either. So you could have imagined them being satisfied with that kind of status quo. Obviously, Netanyahu's made the decision to strike while he can, while he thinks Iran is very weak. As he says, we have control of the skies. Seems like he can do what he wants, but it does seem like he's risking a major war, especially if the United States does get involved in any way. I think that would really require the Iranians to retaliate against the United States in some way, and that would make this into a very major conflict.
Apart from the U.S., there are a couple of other countries that are now positioning themselves as potential peacemakers in the Middle East, including Russia. And Professor, what do you think is motivating Putin to step forward at this moment in time, despite Russia's deep, its own military entanglement in Ukraine? And can it indeed play a mediated role to facilitate a peace agreement?
It's hard to see that they really could play a mediating role. They've so far, both Russia and China have sort of behaved according to form, criticizing Israel, but then saying we can help make peace. My guess is in Putin's case, it's that he recognizes that he is something of a pariah in most of the world, and anything he can do to look to take some of the edge off that opposition to what's happening in Ukraine, to what he's doing in Ukraine, probably is welcome. So he may welcome this as a distraction of public attention around the world, but also a chance to look like he's on the side of peace, even as he makes war over and over again in Ukraine.
Professor, a very quick question about the Ayatollah's public statements of defiance. I'm wondering what's behind it and whether or not there's a, if you like, separate channel or private communication taking place where he's, I guess, reaching out for possible negotiations?
I'm almost certain there must be some second channel, some private channel, probably through Qatar, reach out. He's obviously got a lot on his plate, and Netanyahu now seems to hope for more than ending the nuclear program. He seems like he's talking about regime change. In the short run, that seems very unlikely. As we know, when conflict happens, when nations are attacked, they tend to rally around the flag, and the flag often is the government in place. So it seems like the military attacks are not likely to produce regime change, but that certainly does seem on Netanyahu's list at the moment. Another reason I think that certainly the Ayatollah or people around him must be reaching out in another channel to begin to talk to the United States, probably indirectly through someone like Qatar.
Okay, Professor, we'll have to leave it there for now, but thank you very much for your insight this morning. That was Gregory Treverton, Professor of the Practice of International Relations and Spatial Sciences at the University of Southern California.